It is time for the Writer's Block. We've got football to discuss. I'm Jenny Carlson here in the studios of the Oklahoman, joined by Cedric Golden in the studios of the Austin American-Statesman. Cedric, I think it's almost time for football season.
I know, man, and that almost is just, it's so torturous. We both written about everything that could happen, everything that happened last year, and juxtaposed it with what we think might happen this year. Let's get to the games, man. Let's write about some new stuff, Jen.
Yeah, no, I'm ready for that too. What has happened, not what we think might happen. So that is on the horizon, very close to us, but we're all football today, and we're going to start on, unfortunately, a somber note, Cedric, as you have written and several of your coworkers have chronicled over the last few days, the passing of Cedric Benson, the great Texas running back, spent some time in the NFL. Very much beloved in Austin, was living in that area even, died in a motorcycle crash over the weekend. Just unexpected, so young, not very far removed from his career. What's been sort of the reaction as people have started to wrap their minds around what happened with Cedric Benson?
Well, Longhorn Nation is crushed. Cedric Benson, when you talk about the greatest running backs to come through here, the line starts with Earl Campbell, Ricky Williams, Roosevelt Leaks, and Cedric Benson. Then the lines after that. Those guys epitomize the position. Cedric Benson was so talented, relentless runner, the only back in school history to run for over 1,000 yards in all 4 seasons that he played. So for me, I thought it was very, very poignant that most of the people I talked to, Jen, all talked about what he did on the field, but also how tough he was, playing a tough guy's position, showing up and playing hurt and doing all of that. Now, Cedric had his problems off the field. Let's not sugarcoat it. Mm-hmm. He had some major legal issues off the field, numerous arrests in the city that plagued him during his NFL career. And I think that the one part that I think about more than anything, Jen, is once it didn't work out in Chicago, and once he got to Cincinnati, once he got to Cincinnati, he figured some things out professionally and put up 3 really good seasons for the Bengals, over 1,000 yards each season. But then they chose not to re-sign him because he had a couple of arrests in the offseason. So his decision-making on a personal level was really part of his story. I think it shortened his NFL career. He played 8 seasons, but he could have played a lot more. And it also ultimately cost him his life. It was a tragic accident. From reports that I've read, he was speeding on a motorcycle with a female acquaintance, and it's just one of those things. The city is in mourning because people that follow Longhorn football really respected Cedric Benson.
Yeah, and it's, I think, sort of resonating around my neck of the woods because we recently here found out about the passing of Mike Gaddis, who came several decades before Cedric Benson's time at Texas, but Gaddis, a running back, also the University of Oklahoma, a guy that played under Barry Switzer at a time when, as everyone knows, they ran the wishbone, they ran the ball a ton. Mike Gaddis, a local guy from the Midwest City, Del City area, went to Carl Albert High School, so very much a local talent who went to Oklahoma. He had some huge games, really put up some big numbers, but never fully saw his potential realized as several knee injuries set him back. He did make it to the NFL. Much like Cedric Benson, his career was also cut short, but again, it was because of injury, not the off-field issues, but just a huge talent, a guy that came back to the Oklahoma City area to live, raise a family. I actually talked with Mike about a year ago when Rodney Anderson, another Sooner running back, had some injuries. He was hurt several times during his career with the Sooners and had a season-ending knee injury last year. And so I talked with Mike about dealing with that. And, you know, he obviously had that expertise, unfortunately, that he had been through those sorts of things, but just had a great perspective on things. And dying at 50 years old, which, you know, several years older again than Cedric Benson, but a sudden death, unexpected health-related issue that you know, ultimately ended his life. But again, two great running backs, Cedric. I mean, very different careers, very different career arcs. But, you know, the thing that I keep coming back to is, you know, two guys that in their own ways, much like you were talking about people there in Austin, you know, love Cedric Benson. A lot of people in Oklahoma City love Mike Gaddis. And I think that's really, that reminds you of that connection that's established and those heartstrings that go on for years, decades. I mean, such a long time after these guys' careers are even over.
You know, Jen, you look at it and you know, life is fragile. We know it. Some of us will live to be a ripe old age, and some people won't. I think when you look at it, you mentioned the respect that both of those athletes engendered in their respective cities. It's all about how you'll be remembered. If people remember you fondly for helping out, and I talked to Rob Babers, who was a teammate of Cedric Benson and a former radio co-host of my own, and Rod said he was finally starting to figure some things out. He's settling into being a father, had a long-term girlfriend. Actually, it started a mortgage business, and it helped rebuild the house of one of the bombing victims from the Austin bombing a few years back. So Cedric Benson was on the right track to figuring things out. Sometimes it takes a while to figure it out. Post-NFL is no joke. Earl Campbell told me some of his toughest years were after the NFL, having to adjust to life outside the game. And it's unfortunate that Cedric won't be able to figure it out fully, because I think he was on the right track.
Yeah, definitely some somber notes there for both of those men, and obviously the legacies that they leave, the loved ones they leave behind. But again, just reminds me that you know, these athletes who we see on the field, you know, they really do sort of take a spot in our hearts and in our minds, and even after they've been off the field of play for a while, still we can flash back to those great moments that they've had in their careers.